We're chugging along on the list. Welcome to number 66 through 70 of my top 100 albums of all time. If you don't know what we're doing here, there's a ton of videos leading up to this one and a video explaining exactly what the rules are for this challenge, so make sure you check those out below. But without further ado, let's dive into my next picks. Number 70, Tycho, Dive. Like what I did there with that little intro where I said dive? Anyway, stupid. Many consider this to be the best album by Scott Hansen's project, Tycho. For me, it's my second favorite. And that's largely in part because it wasn't my first exposure to the band. That being said, the shimmery, contemplative guitar work, drums, and relaxing tones are a masterclass in catharsis. The first track on this album, A Walk, is nothing short of mesmerizing and inspirational. I spend a lot of time looking for music that encapsulates the feeling of dive, and outside of Tycho's catalog, it's really hard to find something as magical. The artwork on this album is also stunning. I usually have it as like a computer background. I really enjoy the visual aesthetics that Scott adds because he's not just a musician, he's an artist as well. And there's only one limited variant to this record, and it so beautifully matches the cover with this translucent, kind of clearish green. I had to grab it. Newbury did a great job with this. Number 69, The Strokes, First Impressions of Earth. This is the only Strokes record on the list. Okay, throw your tomatoes. Are you done? Cool, let's continue. I'm well aware that most people think Is This It is the best Strokes record. But unlike Weezer, the Strokes did not peak with their first album. Is This It rocks, but overall it has a very similar vibe to the entire record, and it isn't as sonically impressive as First Impressions of Earth. Playing with electro rock sounds and orchestral elements adds an extremely unique layer to what the Strokes had pioneered as their generic sound. Juicebox is an extremely powerful single, and I remember the first time I heard it, having been a fan of the Strokes up until that point just from their singles, 1251, Reptilia, Is This It, etc. I was blown away, and my favorite Strokes song, You Only Live Once, is on this record, which is a powerhouse live and in the studio. Every single song on this album has a different feel while still expanding beyond what you expect. I'm gonna say this is an underrated record. People might fight me on it, but I think it is worth anyone's time. And this is the really cool red, smoky Newbury Comics variant, which matches the cover quite nicely. Number 68, Julien Baker, Turn Out the Lights. Julien is one of my favorite songwriters making music today. I remember discovering her music right when Sprained Ankle, her first album, came out, and then having the pleasure of seeing her a few weeks later at FYF in a tiny tent. 150 people watching her, and she was so grateful that we were even there. Now she sells out much bigger venues because the world has grown to love her for her amazing somber songwriting. She dazzled us live back then, she dazzles us now, and both of her albums are perfect. And with 2 LPs under her belt, and being one of the members of Boy Genius, the supergroup between her, Phoebe Bridgers, and Lucy Dacus, she is showing no signs of slowing down. I had a tough time picking which of these 2 records would make the list, but ultimately Turn Out the Lights was my choice. The sound feels more sure of itself, more refined, and ultimately better produced. The highest highs of this album transcend any moments of Sprained Ankle, which honestly might be the better album through and through, but the moments that chill your bones and send goosebumps up your spine from this record are unmatched. The ending of Happy to Be Here wrecks me every single time. Soul-crushing poetry over mesmerizing guitar work and haunting lyrics. I am so excited to see what else she puts out. I did manage to get the limited variant of this record. This is a beautiful clear with this purple and pink splatter on it. Really nice touch. I like the way it matches the album cover quite nicely. I feel like you would probably agree. Number 67, Panic at the Disco, A Fever You Can't Sweat Out. To this day, this is one of the most unique sounding records I can think of. I don't think it sounds like anything prior, and I don't think anything else since has captured this feeling, even albums by the same band. It's a psychotic circus of pop-punk eccentricity, rife with full-sentence song titles and manic lyricism. Brendan Urie came out of the gates swinging, and he hit a home run. I think he is one of the best voices of our generation, bar none. I Write Sins Not Tragedies was a worldwide hit for sure, but the rest of this album holds up in terms of quality and catchiness. It captures this burlesque energy. It can almost be a musical with its highs and lows and loose narrative throughout. To this day, every time I hear it, I am injected with nostalgia and appreciate the fact that it holds up to today's musical standards. I'm super thankful this exists, and I was able to get the recent repress colored variant, which is on a very nice red and black kind of color. I think it matches quite nicely. The original limited version was on gold vinyl, but I like this variant a little more. Also, loving this gatefold. So cool. Number 66, The Beatles' Revolver. Rounding out this list is an absolute classic. The Beatles started to actually experiment with their sound on this record, and it really showed what they were about to grow into in the unfortunately short time they were a band. Taxman is a classic Beatles song that opens the record and shows you a lot of their punchiness and grit that they may not have started with when they were making songs like I Want to Hold Your Hand. But then Eleanor Rigby takes the listener by surprise. The grave lyrics and haunting building instrumental, it hits the listener like a ton of bricks. This is the first album where George Harrison, my favorite Beatle, really shines with his songwriting and his influence, whether it be his love for Indian music or his love for LSD. Something that casual Beatles fans from America might not know is that the American pressing of this record is missing 3 pivotal songs from the album. And Your Bird Can Sing, I'm Only Sleeping, and Dr. Robert are 3 of the best cuts from this record, and the American pressing did not have them, which is wild to me. Truthfully, the only stinker on this album, if I had to pick, is Yellow Submarine. I don't think it's a terrible song by any means, but the energy of it doesn't quite mesh with the aesthetic I feel like they put out with the rest of this album. But that doesn't stop it from being an incredibly legendary listen and one of my favorite albums of all time. I recently got the original master recording, aka the Mobile Fidelity version, and it sounds unbelievable. I'd like to track down some of the early pressings to compare, but this is definitely the best sounding I've ever heard this record. Alright guys, those are my 5 picks for this video. We're going through the list. We got a lot more coming in the coming weeks, so look forward to my next videos. If you're not subscribed to Too Many Records at this point, make sure you hit the subscribe button, give this video a like and a comment, and I'll be seeing you real soon with more content, whether it's this series or something totally different. Thanks for watching.